do this. It's the only.
Seeker, Slayer, Survivor takes a more direct approach to combat in Pillars of Eternity 2 by putting players right in the heart of the arena. Following on from last month's Beast of Winter, this time players will go up against all manner of creatures and characters in a bid to become the true champion of the hunt. But as is usual with the Watcher, not all is quite as it seems. Now, as you all know, I enjoyed Beasts of Winter as a rounded narrative experience, appreciate many of the story beats and path of progression, but my main complaints were that the content felt quite insular and ended rather quickly. Well, that is something that Obsidian have clearly taken into account and consideration with Seeker, Slayer, Survivor. Because not only does the content encourage you to venture beyond the Isle of the Crucible, but there are plenty of optional things for you to do, whether you do them during or after the main adventure. To be clear then, Seeker, Slayer, Survivor isn't just a series of battles in an arena for you to earn loot and coins. There's an intricate and pretty solid story holding it all together, and I might even prefer it to Beasts of Winter. It all starts in the quarters of your ship when the steward comes in to tell you about some mysterious cargo, due to visit the island of Kazuari. The spirit begins to converse with you since you're the only watcher and can see it. The essence claims you're the only hope for restoring balance on this fractured island by fighting in the Crucible and currying favour with the Faces of the Hunt. Oh, did I mention that the Faces of the Hunt are a combined statue of a spider, a pig, and a saber-tooth, all representing the three facets of Galawain. And this statue, by the way, comes to life and starts talking. No wonder the denizens worship it. Your objective in the DLC is to choose your allegiance to either the Seeker, the Slayer, or the Survivor, with each one offering different challenges. It's down to you to impress them, listening carefully to what they have to say in order to best the opposition who's lying in front of you. And that is something quite unique to Seeker, Slayer, Survivor. You will find yourself in all new scenarios which will require you to think tactically about your individual approach. You can't just swing a sword around and hope for the best. You'll often need to target individual enemies, whether that means picking up the weakest member of the group or the most dangerous. You can also use the environment to your advantage, claim the high ground, or use an explosive barrel to create a burning effect. But the structure of the encounter is different dependent on the deity you choose to appease. You might have to fight through waves of enemies, or take out one individual high-value target. Whatever your approach, Seeker, Slayer, Survivor encourages replays so you can master your strategy and finish in the quickest time. So not only does it deliver a very lore-heavy focused tale, Seeker, Slayer, Survivor also has the gameplay to back it up. Sure, we got dragons in the last expansion, but this is some pretty enchanted stuff, and you have to listen to the imposing grey structure boom out taunts and tongue twisters before each fight, whether you're slicing skittering spiders or splattering globs of ooze. Before you dive into the content proper, you're going to need to be level 16 and have already completed the Magran's Teeth section of the base game in order to unlock it. Your opponents are tough and bad news and will show you absolutely no mercy. So you need to make sure that you're prepared. Kazuari is on the western side of the map, but it's still well within reach of various other ports scattered all around, which is convenient because Seeker, Slayer, Survivor is full of optional objectives. The arena is structured in the way that you only need to beat a handful of fights, known as Rites of Passage, in order to finish the story. However, you're informed of various optional artifacts spread throughout Deadfire, which can be claimed and then brought back to the basin to exchange for a new battle. And most of the artifacts can only be found by solving the riddles and the clues you receive from the proprietor. I won't spoil any artifact locations in this review nor tell you what they give you, but there's a fair few of them, and they really do range in both quality and difficulty. There are even some new quality of life features Obsidian have added since Beast of Winter to continue bolstering and improving the PoE2 experience, including the ability tree preview, which lets you view your progress outside the level up screen, Steam Workshop mod support, improved in-game combat sounds, character abilities, and much more. There's even new Magran's Fires challenges to add to the overall content in the game. I have to say though, in my pre-release build, I did encounter some delays in cutscene transition, slightly muffled audio, and a few problems with glitching. There was also some bad lag during battles, occasionally freezing the entire screen, which meant I couldn't interact with anything for a few seconds. As you can imagine, this became quite frustrating. All that said, I really enjoyed Seeker Slayer Survivor, much more than I expected to. Obsidian have offered a fresh perspective on PoE2's combat, which has proved divisive within its community. They've opened up the wider Deadfire map, added in new content to familiar areas for optional reward, all while giving us a good piece of content that adds to the game in some new and interesting ways. If Beast of Winter was good and Seeker Slayer Survivor is better, I'm very excited to see what the Forgotten Sanctum offers later this year. So to summarise, on the pro side, a fresh and exciting take on the game's combat. There's a surprisingly deep and interesting story, quite a few optional quests to tackle which opens up around the wider map, and replays are encouraged for additional challenge and competition. On the cons, combat lag did lock up the game a few times during my pre-release build. There were a few issues with cutscene transitions as well, and there was some muffled audio which became quite noticeable compared to other sound like the background music and the sound effects, as well as other characters talking in the game. However, we've chosen to give Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Seeker Slayer Survivor, the second DLC in the Season Pass, an 8 out of 10, and we tested this on a PC. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and the channel a subscribe, as it really helps us to grow. If you have any questions about Seeker Slayer Survivor, please let us know down below. And we very much look forward to reviewing the Forgotten Sanctum when it releases later this year, and we conclude the Season Pass with an overall review of all the content in it. Make sure to stick with Expansive for all of your DLC needs, and we'll see you next time.